what we've got to share with you today and the opportunities to work together to take streaming media and digital media forward. In many ways, this is as exciting in the sense of the changes you see every day and the impact of new technology as the first wave of the internet was 3 or 4 years ago. So huge opportunities for just about everybody. I'm going to give a general overview, introduction to our strategy, and then we'll carry on, as I think you can see from the agenda, with a number of specific sessions during the day. So you should hopefully be able to get your questions answered at a detailed level during that. There'll be time at the end of each of the content sessions, as well as at the end of the day for Q&A. So from a context point of view, our sense is we're really at the phase 2 level of the emergence of streaming media. If you go back a few years, it was essentially relatively low quality audio, just video really over the last year, year and a half, but again, not much in the sense of what was possible. It was an interesting niche application, a lot of early adopters, but essentially hadn't become mainstream. And I think what you've seen in the course of the last 6 to 12 months with the combination of streaming infrastructure going up and the quality that you can deliver dramatically increasing, plus the revolution in digital music driving the adoption and the creation of new types of devices and new content, you're really seeing streaming media come to the point where it's ready for liftoff. You really now see people going to other people and saying, this is so cool, you have to see this, whether it's a device, whether it's broadband content, whether it's corporate applications in terms of streaming. We're seeing very large adoption there. You're really at this point of, the fun part of the curve where things take off. And, it's pretty clear that in the not too distant future, streaming will be as much a part of the internet and web experience, and frankly, the whole area of how people experience consumer electronics as the web has become over the course of the last few years. So very exciting times. Huge explosion in the use of media. There's approximately 100 million PCs installed in the U.S., about 340 million worldwide. The run rate for PCs right now is over 100 million. We're at about 120 million PCs alone, not counting all the other kinds of new devices that are coming up. On the PCs, there's about 100 million streaming media players have been downloaded in the U.S. These are U.S. numbers, about 100 million. So there's more players that have been downloaded than total number of PCs. We've started doing some research, Mediametrics, Nielsen, PC Data, a number of others, to try to be able to quantify streaming media usage the way they have with the web. And today that just isn't there yet. There's a lot of discrepancies between what vendor A or vendor B or vendor C claims. So frankly, the important thing is getting the independent market research firms to be able to quantify what's going on. So you have things that people can count on when it comes to advertising and statistics tracking. In the same way you have page views and reach statistics on the web, the same kind of thing will happen here. The statistics that we've seen are about 44% of U.S. PC users are using media players. Using media players means sometime in the course of a month they use the media player. We don't have enough statistical knowledge about day-to-day usage. There were forecasts of about a million of these digital music players that were supposed to ship this year. I think recent statistics have shown that it's not going to quite get that far. It's 700,000, something like that. There have been some barriers to adoption, which we'll talk about. And it's clearly becoming a multi-format world. You have real networks, you have MP3, you have Microsoft, Windows Media, you have QuickTime, you have MPEG-1, you have MPEG-2. There's a lot of formats and a lot of decisions people have to make about what do I use, when do I use it, and why. But the good news is this isn't like the analog world of VHS and beta, where essentially a single device only supported a single format. Pretty clearly, all types of PCs, regardless of whether it's a Windows machine or a Macintosh, have support for multiple players. More and more of the devices that are coming out are supporting multiple formats. So you really need to think about what's the best in terms of my business, in terms of the application or solution I'm trying to build. Windows Media is doing very, very well, especially over the last probably 6 to 12 months since we introduced in beta. We introduced in April in beta the version 4. We've been shipping Windows Media actually for a long time, but it's really only in the course of the last probably 6 to 9 months that we've really started to see that huge takeoff. Again, these are our statistics. You know, this comes from PC data, but just I think that you should be looking more for the generalities as opposed to the specific numbers. The PC data number showed we had the fastest growing media player usage month over month. I think the big point is clearly this is becoming a multiplayer world. We're doing very well. Usage is growing quite well. Got about 50 million players installed to date. It ships as a feature of Windows operating system, just as media playback ships on the Macintosh. Our media player now also ships on the Macintosh, not obviously as a default. On a rate to hit about 120 million players installed by the middle of next year. And the PC data statistics that recently came out about media player usage showed about 6 out of 10 player users were using Windows Media, contrast with about 8 out of 10 using Real. So still a difference there, but pretty narrowing. Changing the streaming media landscape. I think the biggest change we see happening in this sense is you're going from really narrowband streaming only, 28, 56K, to that being one experience, the quality getting much better there for radio and sort of news and other things. But you're also seeing a huge move towards download and play as opposed to just streaming. Portable devices growing up, broadband in the consumer marketplace, broadband to the home, as well as rapid increase in corporate adoption. So you really have to think about the applications in a much broader way. Our strategy is pretty simple. We are a technology provider. Our strategy is to enable digital media across all devices, all platforms, all networks. We're not a media company. We're not a content aggregator. We're not a hosting company. We're in the business of providing the best and richest technology platform to take this whole revolution forward. Again, quite a powerful platform. We can, again, debate the statistics. We've been rated quite high on audio and video quality. We also have an integrated rights management capability. Clearly, this becomes very important as you go forward, not just with SDMI and music, where the ability to protect content is a core feature, but this is going to be applicable everywhere. We're already seeing it happen around videos. More and more corporations, we believe, are going to not just want to encrypt the streams, but be able to protect the content and be able to distribute that content in the business market. So digital rights management are not an afterthought. You really need to think about intellectual property in an end-to-end sense, and clearly that's something that we care a lot about. A lot of support for Windows Media. Both Cirrus Logic and TI have announced native support for Windows Media in addition to MP3. Those two ship about 70 to 80% of the processors that go into all of the quote-unquote MP3 players. So starting in the next month and by the middle of next year, you'll see probably almost all of the digital players that ship will support Windows Media. Almost all the major infrastructure providers in the internet, whether it's the caching and edge companies like Akamai or iBeam, Sandpiper, Interview going there, all those people are supporting Windows Media. Again, most of the major ISPs. We have a very partner-friendly business model. As I said, our strategy is very clear. We're trying to push the adoption of Microsoft technology in a wide sense. We don't offer content aggregation. We don't do hosting. We don't have a competitive consulting business. Our strategy is to be a partner and enabler. Very focused on low cost of ownership. Clearly, in the early stages, the technology is very exciting and people get into that. But as you go forward, people start to worry about the standard metrics, which is how reliable is this? What does it cost me to own it? What does it cost me to deploy it? How do I upgrade it? How do I manage it? And we're focusing very hard on the whole lifecycle part of managing cost of ownership of streaming media. And lastly, and not surprisingly, given our presence in the corporate market, we see streaming media as a key part of our overall knowledge management initiatives, both as it relates to Office, back office, and native features of Windows 2000. Windows 2000 Server, when it comes out, although streaming media has been available in NT4, it wasn't as integrated in the sense of configuration and setup as, say, web servers. So with Windows 2000, a standard option in configuration is media server. Set it up as a file server, print server, web server, or media server. A lot of industry support. Again, this is just a set of some of the people. If your logo isn't up here, I apologize in advance. But we've seen very, very broad adoption recently in support for our technology. Also, a lot of corporate adoption. As I mentioned, this is the number of some of the people who are working with us in the corporate arena in terms of the end users. We have a referral site and a user guide called windowsmedia.com. It's part of MSN. But essentially, the purpose of that site is to refer traffic to people with Windows Media content. So we are not a portal in the sense that we're trying to keep users. We're a referral engine. So anybody who's got content in Windows Media format, we list it there, we organize it, we make it very easy for all the people with the media player to be able to find your content. We've started to participate with others and do a number of webcasts. The largest probably was this recent Drew Carey show where essentially the network for the first time simultaneously added a web streamcast to the TV show. During the entire time the event was on, they didn't stream the show. What they did is they stuck a webcam in Drew Carey's house, which was on during the entire rest of the event. So you saw what was going on at his house while the TV show was going on. They had things like Ed McMahon came to give him a $10 million check. He wasn't home. It did a lot of weird things. But the basic point was you're starting to see a lot of interest among the television networks and how they can augment as opposed to just take the technology and offer the same content. We think that was the largest simultaneous users in any particular webcast. It was about 60 to 70,000 spread across a number of providers. So again, our strategy here is to partner with a number of people to bridge the media companies. In this case, it was Disney and Warner, together with partners like Interview and iBeam and Akamai and eMedia and others. So a lot of progress in the music market. As I said, the fact that we have an integrated rights management capability along with the very high quality of our codecs. We've seen tremendous support from 4 of the 5 major labels, and this is happening around the world. It just went live in Japan. It's live in Europe, as well as a number of artists in the U.S. I think we have the single largest catalog of content available in any particular format today in Windows Media. There's about somewhere in the area of 1,000 radio stations online in this format as well. As I said, consumer electronics, what we're trying to do is help push this whole area of download and play music and download and play video, frankly, forward. In this particular case, the PC is becoming more and more of a leading entertainment device, but people want to be able to take their music or their videos with them someplace else. The problems that we've had today in those first-generation players, first of all, the storage was not really sufficient for most people to feel great about it. It was 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Using Windows Media Audio, you double the amount of available storage at essentially the same quality rate. So where you previously would have got an hour, you get about 2 hours. That's a big difference. The other thing is there were no standardized interfaces for connecting one of those devices to a PC. So each different vendor is trying to do their own. Our strategy here is very simple. There's a standard interface in Windows, which we announced about a month ago, is shipping in an SDK now, called the Windows Media Device Manager. It makes it very, very easy to essentially synchronize devices, interface portable devices to Windows in a standard way. So any jukebox that supports this interface or any music player that supports this interface can talk to any device which supports the interface. And we believe that will tend to drive adoption. It usually does. It's completely open. It supports digital rights management, our digital rights management, but also it could support others. Sony's going to use this as a way to bridge their Open Magic Gate with our rights management. And essentially, devices will be shipping with this starting pretty soon, and it's SDMI compliant. So again, a lot of device manufacturers. So with that, I'd like to have David Brinton, a product manager inside the Windows Media team, come up, and let's do a couple demos. Are you ready?
Yep. Switch the screen here. Good morning. We're going to run through several examples of how the technology is being used inside corporations and on the internet itself to make money and to improve productivity. First, we're going to take a look at an example of corporate use of streaming media.
Hi, my name is John Gray, and I'm going to talk today about Windows 2000 Professional.
This is an example of the use of streaming media inside the corporation for technical training. We're finding it used extensively for executive communications, sales training, sometimes being put on CDs as part of training kits. And this particular one is set up as part of a deployment CD for Windows 2000. What you see here is you see the Windows Media Player embedded on the screen. You see the PowerPoint slides, which are synchronized directly with the video, and then you see a nice little table of contents here that allows you to jump around. And in fact, this seminar that we're doing here today, we're going to produce in exactly this format and make it available on the web and on CD as well so that people can watch the training without actually being there. It's a very effective way of delivering training inside the corporation.
One point I'd like to make about corporate usage is if you look back at the internet and the evolution of where people made money, although there was a lot of interest and a lot of activity around consumer usage, frankly, the volume adopters of people who paid money around internet technology were corporations. Corporate use for internet applications and corporate use for e-commerce applications. And we see the same thing happening here. It's so economically efficient to look at doing product launches, business communications, marketing communications, and training by combining the web and video and audio that the adoption, we think, is going to be significant once you get a few showcase applications out there. So for those of you who are in the business of building applications, selling applications, hosting, things like that, we certainly encourage you to take a look at the corporate marketplace. We're seeing tremendous demand from customers and, frankly, not enough partners out there who understand the technology well enough.
So let's see what he has to say here.
I'm a program manager in the Windows Development Group. I've been doing this job for about the last 7 years.
Well, if you're not that interested in his bio, you can jump directly to the meat, upgrading, for example. And here,
let me take a few minutes and dive deeper into upgrading.
So that gives you a general idea of the power of streaming inside the corporation. The next thing I want to talk about is the home, and some of the things that we've done at Microsoft and the music industry has done to help the consumer to get comfortable with their personal computer as a music consumption device. What you're seeing here is the front page of the Windows 98 Second Edition Play Pack. In every single retail box of Windows 98 Second Edition, there's a special CD called the Play Pack, and it includes music from a variety of top artists. You can see David Bowie, Brooks and Dunn, Martina McBride, a number of other people. It includes a jukebox to allow people to start to record music and get to know how to use those features on their PC. This is something that we did just to sort of jumpstart the consumer with music. Interesting about this, innovatively, we've used the rights management technology in Windows Media. So the full tracks you actually only get for 30 days, and then you have a very short preview of the music for forever. I'm going to go and go to one of these particular people here, and one of the nice things about Net Music is it allows you to explore music that you might not have otherwise known about. Maybe you wouldn't have made the trip down. You can browse it. And one of my objectives in doing the demos here was not only to show how this was used, but also to wake people up this morning. So I thought we'd go to this fine band called Lit. And you can play there's music, you can play the song. We'll just play the video and see how that looks.
All right, mister, just what do you think you're doing? Your mother and I are going away for the weekend, and this room is a pigsty. I want you to straighten up this area now. You are a disgusting slob. Lit. What is that? And what is that? A lit pin on your uniform? What kind of a man are you? You're worthless and weak. You sit in here all day and play that sick, repulsive, electric twitter. Who are you? Where do you come from? Are you listening to me? What do you want to do with your life? I'm on a ride!
So you get the idea. That's one of the videos, but it allows you just to kind of explore music, and perhaps that's one of the nice things about the internet is to learn more things about different types of music.
One of the features of Windows Media that got a lot of the labels to be able to be interested in releasing content in this format was the rights management capability. So the thing ships with all this content. In order to activate it, you have to go on the internet and get a license from the label. So rather than getting a license from Microsoft, we are not in the value chain. It gives you an ability to package up your content, assign whatever license rights you want, again, within the constraints of the current version. and essentially have a direct relationship with the end user. So in order to be able to unlock this stuff for 30 days, I had to go register as a user, and they now know who I am. So again, that same kind of thing applies in the business market for business media and other kinds of things. So again, there's a lot of opportunities here to think outside the traditional box for how you can distribute content.
Just one last thing about the playback is it does include a version of Music Match's jukebox on the CD, so everyone who buys Windows 98 Second Edition will get the complete jukebox, which is very convenient for people. So with that, the playback, as I mentioned, is something that we did really to help consumers become comfortable with this whole concept of internet music. Let's take a look at how one company is starting to make some money off of internet music. Launch.com, an innovative site, does two things to generate revenue. One, they're starting to move into the direction of pay per download, and they're also doing inline advertising. We'll take a look at examples of both of those. So if we go here to, this is an example of a downloadable music page. And if I go and hit preview here,
well, it's cloudy in the morning, gonna be raining in the afternoon.
I can preview the song directly from the internet. But if I want to download it and have it on my PC forever, I click download. The song doesn't play, and I'm taken to the screen where I need to enter some information. In this particular case, we'll just enter some demographic information, name, email, etc. But that as well could be a credit card and a micro payment, like $1 or something for a single. And Sony and other people are starting to move rapidly, into the deployment phase of selling singles. So now if I, give a little bit of demographic information. And we'll give it my age of 24 here, and hit submit. And now we have
cloudy in the morning, gonna be raining in the afternoon.
Now that song is down on my machine, I can use it, but it is using our rights management. It's tied to my personal use. If I were to copy that on a floppy disk or post it to my favorite website, other people would not be able to use it. They'd need to go back and authenticate themselves the same way that I did. So that's sort of the consumer payment model. Let's take a look at the advertising model that people are, some of the advertising that people are using today. This is, again, Launch.com. It's got a great number of music videos up. If I go and play, say, Britney Spears, a favorite of my son, I believe your daughter, right, Anthony?
I've seen more Britney Spears videos than I ever wanted to.
Oops, I'll start that over again there.
Sorry, F1 Raspberry Brain and Nintendo 64. Don't get carried away.
So that was the ad, and here's the content. I'll pop this up to full screen just to give you an idea of the quality at full screen.
Tell me you're in love with me, like you can't take your pain away with me. It's not that I don't wanna stay, but every time you come to this, I'm away. I wanna believe in everything that you say. It's time so good, but it's giving on me. Ooh, so that's it, I think you just have to know. Sometimes I know, sometimes I hide.
So that gives you an overview of advertising and also the quality that we achieve with our with higher bit rates for our codec. That particular clip is encoded at 700K, but if you go to launch.com, you'll see actually over 1,000 videos at the 300K range, which look extremely good.
3 of the Britney Spears ones are in the top 21, so if
Yeah,
you go right there, there you go.
So that's advertising. Another example of how people are using streaming media to make money is in the area of syndication. If you have a broad base of content, or even if you're a service company, you want to help people who already have AV content, people are starting to syndicate that. An example of that is EMI Music. which announced at WebNoise about 3 weeks ago that they will be taking their back catalog of videos and syndicating that on the web through other websites so that people will be able to view videos that may not be available today. So let's take a look at how that will work when it comes out. So here's you'll be able to basically go search by artist, and we'll go to something a little less modern than lit. John Lennon, for example. Simply click on that. You can take a look at this, also at very high bit rate, at very high quality. So that's an overview of some of the innovative applications with Windows Media, and there's lots more of them out there. And the purpose of the day, of course, is to learn more about how to use this and how to do these sorts of things. So it's the end of the demos. And
Thanks very much, David. Can we come back to the PowerPoint? Here we go. So about 2 months ago, we announced the Windows Media Jumpstart Broadband Initiative. The objective of that was to line up all the different pieces of the value chain required to get high-speed content into the home. The combination of content providers, encoding, hosting, content delivery networks, access providers to market this, and advertising and service bureaus. So we're not hosting the content. Essentially, we are orchestrating the different pieces so that when you go to a DSL provider and they market a broadband service, that you have access to a lot of high data rate content with a reliable sense that it's going to stream well. So caching partnered with the local content providers. And we announced that it actually is going live later this month. We've had tremendous interest and tremendous response, and you'll be hearing more about that as we go forward. But again, this sort of model is what we're trying to do, which is we have the ability and the strength to essentially bring together large numbers of people in the context of their own interests. So with the media companies, clearly what they're trying to do, if you're a content owner, you're trying to maintain control of your brand and control of your user experience and make it very easy not just to embed the player inside an HTML page, but more and more to customize the player. Our goal is to enable that direct relationship between customers and the content owner, or whoever they've decided to empower, whether it's syndication or distributorship. Same thing in business, to be able to enable that relationship and to work on the infrastructure components to make sure that all the technology capabilities are there. So if you pick Windows Media, you'll know that all the leading caching companies, Akamai, iBeam, Sandpiper, Digital Island, Interview, all those key people have the capability, broadcast.com, to be able to support that infrastructure. Whichever last mile provider you pick, all the major DSL providers and not quite all the major cable access providers yet, will be able to provide that capability, that the tool support will be there, that you'll have a rich set of encoding service providers to choose from, a rich set of solution providers and application providers. It's our traditional business model, and that is to build a technology platform, to go create demand in the end customer for that platform, and to work with partners to deliver. So what you should expect today, a lot of how-to information. This is a very informational day. It's a very informational series of sessions. We will drill in great detail to all the particular topics. You'll have plenty of time for questions. You'll get information about content development and deployment, about application development on this platform, or about devices and hardware if you're interested in that. You'll have a chance to meet peers, other people working on similar problems, and very clearly a chance to give us your feedback. It's very critical that we get feedback about what we're doing that works and what we're doing that doesn't work, both in the sense of features in the technology and features in the platform, as well as in the context of the business relationship. It's our commitment to be the best partner for people working in the streaming media space. So in terms of follow-up after this, you're going to learn a lot about Windows Media today. There's an MSDN developer center around Windows Media. There's a lot of work around ongoing seminars. The information from here will also be available afterwards for people in your companies that might not have been able to attend. We encourage you to really get started, to look at ways to support Windows Media and use Windows Media in your website, in your applications. Tell us how it works. As I said, more and more, the world is moving to a multiplayer, multi-format world. There are tremendous numbers of people out there with Windows Media who want Windows Media and want to be able to get it from your sites and your applications. We will promote anything that you do that uses Windows Media at no charge. We're not trying to make money off of this. We're trying to drive, essentially, adoption of Windows Media technology. So if you've got an interesting application, if you've got interesting content, if you've got a service that you provide, let us know. We'll do whatever we can to support it, either in the sense of the media guide or in the sense of a range of partner programs. And again, join the partner program if you're working with our technology. Now with that, I'd like to bring Steve back up, and he'll give us a general walkthrough of what the day is going to look like. And I think we have time for probably a couple of questions before we move on. And thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony.
Not quick time.
If everyone can please pull out the agenda that's in your packet, I just want to briefly take you through that. It should be in the front of the folder. Also, you should have at least the morning presentations at this point. We'll be getting the second half of the day, the presentations printed, and you should receive those throughout the day. The day basically has 4 components. The morning general session, which is what you're in now, should give you an overview of all the pieces in Windows Media, both on the tool side, the server side, and on the player side. Lunch, we break out in the foyer just outside. There should be a lunch hour, looks like from 12 to 1. The second part of the day is really splitting up into 2 tracks. So on this side of the room, we're actually going to have a wall come through the middle of this room. There'll be a content track, and some of the sections that we'll be covering there. Advanced content development, that session is really about what it takes to create great Windows Media audio and video. And we have Terran Interactive and Sonic Foundry joining us for that session. Incorporating Windows Media into your websites, that's once you've created the content, pulling it into an HTML page. That session is very much a client-side page. Digital rights management, that's all about making your content secure for download off the web. Creating streaming media, radio and TV stations for the web and corporate. This is really about delivering personalized content, ad insertion. It's very much a server-side focus for this presentation. So that's basically the content track. On this side of the room, we're going to be focusing on application development, and we have 3 sessions in that track. One is an overview of the Windows Media SDK, which has 4 components: the encoder, the Windows Media Services, the player, and a recently released component called the Windows Media Format SDK, which is currently in beta. The second session will drill down into the Format SDK beta, and the focus of that session will really be on reading and writing and editing Windows Media files. The third session, developing for portable devices, Anthony mentioned the Windows Media Device Manager, WMDM. That's really what this session is about. It's all about enabling the transfer of secure content from PCs to portable devices. And that wraps up the application track. At the end of the day, then, the 4th component is bringing everybody back into this room. We'll have a chance to have a number of representatives from Microsoft up on stage. Again, ask questions throughout the day, but this is really your chance to get both application development kinds of questions and content development kind of questions answered. We'll also be giving you a gift at the end of the day and a chance to fill in your evaluation form. Some of the other housekeeping issues, restrooms are just out on the left-hand side. Looks like you have 2 badges, one for content track, one for application track. You can certainly switch between those. That's more just to give you an indication as to what you've picked to date. And that's about it. So at this point, we have, I guess, time for 1 or 2 questions for Anthony, and then we'll move on to the next session. We have the house lights on, and we have some microphones. And if we... Okay.
Doesn't appear to be up. Somebody wants to race to the mic. There he goes.
Question I had when you did that one demo and you jumped down through the links, I've noticed that a lot is when you do jump, the frame freezes. Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. Will that be answered today? Why and why not it does that?
Sure. To the degree we're going to deal with that, I would assume that that would be in Brooks's creation or in hosting. One of the two. There's 3 sessions between now and lunch, and they should get into it there.
Okay.
What happens there is that when you do any jumps and markers, you wait for a keyframe. And so depending on where the keyframes are, you sometimes have about a 2 or 3 second lag before the video resets. That's your question.
We should definitely want to avoid that. Okay.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to end this session and move on to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anthony.